Jema, and welcome to our ongoing study of Bhaja Govindam. We are going to briefly review verse 2, not simply review what we have already undergone, but review from a Shastric lens, a few more ideas from other source texts to understand why the Trishna or the thirst for dhana, and dhana is not just dollars or rupees or currency-based wealth, but the wealth of the different objects that give us pleasure, that seeking, why that is so important to us, because it leaves us essentially unfulfilled. It is the kind of seeking that the more we fulfill it, the more hungry we become, the more needy we become. And ultimately, the more wealth we chase, the more we lose connection with something that is already whole within us. So why does this Trishna occur? We will review in from verse 2, and then we will proceed to look at verse 3. Welcome again to the Bhaja Govindam teachings. Let us begin with a chant after I have said a thank you to Ishvara, to Guru, to my own Atma. Om Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Bhaja Govindam, Bhaja Govindam, Govindam Bhaja Mudamate, Samprapte San Nihite Kale. Nahi nahi rakshati dukkana kadane mood jahi dhanagam trishna kuru satputim manasiva trishna yallabhase nijam Karamopatam vittam tena vinodaya chetam nari stanabhara nabhitesham dishtva maga mohavesham etanmansa वसादिविकारं मनसि विचिन्तय varam. So in verse 2, Acharya Shankara says to us again and again that renounce this unexamined, crazy-making, incorrigible, delusional thirst for more and more wealth. So again, be careful. He's not asking you to renounce the wealth that you already have by natural means, by karmic means, through your own hard work in a dharmic way. Whatever has accrued to you is Govinda's blessings to you. You're not being asked to suddenly empty your bank, give away every object in your closet, empty out your drawers, and even give out the loose change. That kind of renunciation, known as vairagyam, has bitten many of false yogis over thousands of years who suddenly become beggars or mendicants. That is not necessary. It is subtle. Spirituality is subtle business. You are being asked to give up the greed for wealth, that greed that wants more. Now that I have this, I want more. I want the next color in this series. I want the next higher up technology in this phone. I want the better car with a better model. I want more. I want upgradation of every potential material comfort known as dhanam. In my book, Roar Like a Goddess, I talk about the 16 kinds of wealth that the goddess represents. Yes, we have an entire Vedic goddess that represents wealth, but her first name is Santoshi. She's the mother of contentment. You can have all the wealth you want, all the wealth that the universe can give you in your home, all the cars parked in your garage, but you may not be content. You may not have the goddess in your heart. You may still be restless and anxious. And I don't know about you, but if this has ever happened to you, where you felt less than the others, then already materialism has struck an ugly hand on your spiritual uh, capacities, and you are banished from the heavenly domain of goddess contentment. So the false teachings of attract what you want, manifest the next car, the next house, the next lover, you can see how they annihilate the very basis of spirituality, which begins with, if I'm sitting under a tree, I'm content. If I'm in a palace, I'm content. If I'm in a hut, I'm content. I'm content no matter what. That is the spiritual truth, not I have more and then I will be content. So powerful is this Trishna, this insatiable thirst, that we become servants to it. And that is what is repulsive. And that is what is delusion causing. We throw away our entire life. We work 1, 2, 3 jobs. We are for more name and fame, which is a kind of wealth, for more contacts and friends, which is a kind of wealth, for more likes and shares, which is a kind of friend on social wealth on social media, and for surely more money. And while we should all get up and do some work and be on social media if that is the trend and enjoy our friends, but is it coming from this compulsive Trishna, or is it coming in a natural way? That is what is really important. In another text authored by the same author, Adi Shankaracharya, known as Vivek Chudamani, in verse 271, we come across the description of the three kinds of thirst, three kinds of Trishna, also known as vasana. Lokavasanaya janto, shastra vasanaya picha, dehe vasanaya jnanam, yatha vanne vajayate. No spiritual seeker can seek self-realization until the three types of vasanas run their programming. The three vasanas are: one thirst is for the world, one thirst for unnecessary study of scriptures, and the final vasana to pamper and comfort the body relentlessly. These three vasanas must be seen through. And then in verse 272 of the same text, with the change of meter, Shankaracharya chants, Sansara griha mokshamichoho ayomayam pada nibandha shankalam vadanti tajnana paduvasanatrayam yosmadi vimukta samupeti muktim. So then this is an advice to seekers like you, that if you are seeking liberation from the imprisonment of samsara, of this world, and materialism, and decay, and deception, and disease, and depravity, then just understand that these three desires, the desire to be somehow belong and be a part of and to be mastering this world vasana, this body vasana, and even the scripture vasana, that we study more, study more, study more. Calm it down, because these are like strong iron fetters, says Shankaracharya. They are fetters on one's spiritual feet. They hold you back, because the one who is truly free, as in muktaha, a true yogi, is is in reality free from these inner shenanigans, these inner virtual imprisonments, these attitudes, these values that chain one firmly to the samsara. How does one do that? Once again, to be at the feet of Govinda, which is Ishvara, the ultimate divine spiritual reality. Turn on your Guru Sata Buddhim. Turn on that Sata Buddhi. Sat means reality. Turn on the intellect that sees reality beyond this temporary grazing and clutching and grasping. The whole world gets up in the morning and until night they fall asleep, they do. And even in dreams, they grasp onto the vasanas. And that is why we are reminded back to the Upanishad, Isha Upanishad, which says, ईशवास्यम् इदं सर्वं यत्किञ्च जगत्यां जगत् तेन त्यक्तेन भुञ्जीथा मा गृधा कस्य स्वेद्धनम्. Whatever is in this samsara, whatever, living, non-living, a particle of dust, a single pebble, a whole tree, a whole world, this belongs to Govinda, belongs to that greater reality. You can create this, you just found yourself here. This whole enchanted universe is the creation of Ishvara. That is why simply use what you need for your regular, noble, dharmic, clean, simple, organic existence, and all the rest let it be. There is not a single comb or toothpick or a single particle of sand that you can take with you. You came empty-handed and you shall leave empty-handed. Therefore, do not covet another's wealth. Do not covet for more. Relax, let it go. Everything belongs to Govinda. What you need shall come to you. What you do not need really, what your soul doesn't need, is being kept away from you. It is your ego that hankers for everything. It is your ahankara, your ego. And that takes you away from a state of yoga into a state of bhoga, constant consumption, constant seeking, constant pursuit, even to the point of tiring your body, wearing out your mind, trying to prove a point to yourself that I can have more. And the whole society gives you those messages, especially the Western society. But please let us not hold the Eastern society to any higher standards. One of the most materialistic nations today is India itself. So it is a worldwide problem, this delusion of acquisition. And at the root of spirituality is the beautiful dharmic value taught to us by Patanjali, known as Santosha. It is the ultimate yogi's ornament to wear. Because contentment, when that contentment comes within you, then you shall be content whether you are wearing a cloth made of a bark or whether you're wearing a cloth made of rare silk. The difference between the wearers is who has contentment. If the person who is wearing a bark wrapped around their body is content, then actually they are rich. They are being blessed by Goddess Lakshmi. And the one who's changing clothes every hour, wearing the most important brands and labels, but they are restless, they are discontent, they're not enough, then they are actually poor. So the difference, the definition of richness and poverty in the Vedic pantheon, in the yogic shastric understanding is who is content. And the one who is not content from within, the one who is not wealthy from within, through the power of Santosha, Bhagavad Gita in chapter 16, verse 23, lays it out really clearly. यशास्त्र विधिमृत्सृज्य वर्तते कामकारता न स न सिद्धिमावापनोति न सुखम न पराम गतिम. The one who it really clearly says the one who dismisses the laws, the principles of Govinda as laid out by Shastra. So, like, for example, what I'm sharing with you is not something I came up with last night. It's not something my great grandfather came up with. No, it is not something that a singular path of my ancestors or a group of people around the world with headquarters in India decided in ancient times. The Shastra or these source texts like the Bhagavad Gita, the Upanishads, they do not have a human author. They are simply laws of the universe, laws of Govinda. And the one who dismisses these laws, because traditionally this conversation is happening with people. Once upon a time in India, when everyone went to a Gurukulam, everybody studied the way you are studying right now. And like a family of seekers from different parts of the world. Whether you're studying directly with me on my Vedic study circle, or whether you will catch this video when it drops on my YouTube channel, either way, when you're part of, you are receiving this, and it is Govinda's will that you receive it. It is your will that you get up, you turn on the Zoom, or you go to the YouTube and you look for the video. But there is a larger will that ensures that this is happening for you. So, and this knowledge is being made available to you as it was made available to thousands of people who came before you. And there are some people who know it, but they still dismiss it and they still conduct themselves led by Trishnas. I want this, so now I will spend a whole decade trying to get that. I will spend 2 decades trying to get that. I will not change my plans. I will make my grip harder and harder. And as a result, what happens? Sri Krishna says it very clearly that they will lose out 3 things that every human wants. They will lose out success. They will not get success in life. They will be ultimately, and the word is losers. They may get some temporary success, but they would not be really successful in the long run. They will not have, so that another word for success, it's a spiritual word, but it is being used here in a material sense, siddhi. You will not get siddhi. You will not get sukha, which means you won't truly be happy. You might become diseased in the process, mentally, physically, emotionally. You might become old and weary, not biological, chronological aging, but premature aging in the process. You might be alienated from loved ones. You might be lonely without friends just because you could fulfill a trishna. And finally, you will be nowhere close to Param Gati or Moksha or Mukti or Nirvana. You will be very far from this internal yogic alignment with Govinda, with Atma within, which is the goal of all yogic pathways, whether it is Raj Yoga, Ashtanga Yoga, Upasana Yoga, Swar Yoga, any yoga methodology you pick up, classic or modern or semi-modern. They're all ultimately leading to a state of samadhi or self-realization, but you would not achieve it because your mind would be so restless. Your mind would be so full of vrittis or waves of non-composed, non-clear, non-rested, and non-enlightened waves of thoughts. So you would be away from that. And as a result, in this confused mind, you will constantly, if you remember in a previous session, I told you, you will keep moving towards a path of prayers, seeking one object after another, virtual object like name or fame, or physical object like a lover or two, or cheesecakes and food and cars and boats and houses. You're just running after them, the path of prayers versus the path of shreyas, which is to calm down, to pull back, to re-examine what is the natural path for you, what is organically blossoming for you, what is what is the signpost that universe is holding for you. So this is why a 3-step process is also recommended by Krishna. So these are my additional teachings for you on the verse. This is what happens in the oral tradition. If you go online and you search Bhaja Govindam, you will find a verse and then a cryptic meaning, and a verse and a cryptic meaning. And that teaching can happen in 1 hour flat. Bhaja Govindam taught. The teaching that you are experiencing directly or indirectly through YouTube, what's happening is this is a traditional teaching. This is where the teacher brings all their knowledge to elucidate one verse. And can you imagine if through this second verse of the Bhaja Govindam you laid to rest this dhana trishna, this trishna for dhana acquisition? How, how promoted you will become from within you. How restful, how peaceful. So in chapter 2, verse 71, the teacher Krishna explains to all of us through the student Arjuna that here is a threefold path. Here is what you have to give up. You have to give up what is known as sprihaha. You have to become nisprihaha. So in English, you can write it as when you start seeing this hankering come up, hankering, then understand this to be Trishna. Understand this to be Trishna. Lay it to rest. Become nisprihaha, become free of this hankering. And a hankering is very different from a need. You need a glass of water, you make the necessary steps to drink a glass of water. You need to pay your electricity bill, you take necessary steps to go get a job or sell some lemons and make some lemonade, sell that, and then go pay your electricity bill. But when there is a hankering, for either the world should recognize me more, should applaud me more, should accept me more, should follow me more, should like me more. There is a hankering from a body perspective. I should be thinner. I must be even more thin. I should be even more pretty. I should forgetful of all laws of the universe of aging and decay. You're just like, I want more, more, more for my body. I want another lover. I want a better lover. It's hankering or scriptural study. I want to study not just one text, I want 10 texts, then I will be realized. Although one may have studied one text or one verse or one text and be living it. But no, I want more. I want more words. Whether I'm a scholar of the Bible, whether I'm a scholar of the Quran, whether I'm a scholar of the yogic text, I want more. Look at me chant, look at me memorize, look at me perfect my Sanskrit. This is all spiritual Krishna. So let go of the hankering. That is the first teaching. Then there is something called mamagara and ahankara. Ahankara means mamakara means uh, um, this belongs to this is mine, my cup. No, this clay belongs to Ishvara. The skill of being a potter belongs to Ishvara. The fact that I was provided with adequate dollars to buy this wealth, or I was provided with actually with a whole setup. I was born in a family that could have a cup. Um, I was partnered with a person who could earn a salary. I provided with students who understand their duty and provide donations and other things. So the whole setup by Govinda, by Ishvara. So I have this cup. This is not my cup, Ishvara's cup. Water, my water. I never made the clouds. I never made the river. I don't know how to make water particles. Everything provided by Ishvara. So reduce the sense of mindness. Bring Govinda here, bring Ishvara here, bring the universe here. For people who are afraid of the word God, goddess, they like to put everything to the universe. Okay, bring the universe. Doesn't belong to you. The universe was long here before you came, will be here when you're gone. Belongs to a greater reality, Sat. And the third letting go is of ahankara or egotism. What is ahankara here? Ahankara would then decide the feeling around it. This is enough water, so I'm happy. I am covered for the whole glass. This is less water, so I am worried. This is putting a subjective spin on everything. I feel good, I have this. I don't feel good because I don't have it. So see through the hankering, see through the delusion of mindness, and let go of all the subjective spinning of ahankara. Vihaya kamanya sarvan Pumamscharati nispraha nirmamo nirahankara sashantimadhigacchati. And this is the way to Shanti. This is the way to yogic peace. Why is it yogic peace? Because whenever I use the word yoga here, we are going inward and upward. We are ascending in our consciousness. And whenever I use bhogi or bhoga, we are going outwards and we are splattering with our desires, multifold desires, desires that beget other desires, and desires that are fulfilled give birth to so many more illegitimate desires. That is the bhogi path, the material path, the worldly path, the samsara path, the never-ending path of never quenched desires. And the moment we go into the yogic space, we have become peaceful, knowing that I live in a universe that is the manifestation of Ishvara. So the math is Ishvara. And if I have something, that is Ishvara's blessing. And if I do not have something in this moment, it is Ishvara's plan for me. When I didn't plan this body, I didn't plan this story. Why should I plan to be anxious about it? Okay, if I want to buy this cup, I can make an effort to buy it. And if it all comes all naturally to me, it's fine. But if it doesn't come all natural to me, that's a teaching for me that no, it's not meant for me. So this is how we move from this constant Trishna based around karma. So karma is a purushartha or a legitimate goal of pleasure, but karma is a double-edged sword. When it's legitimate, we can enjoy sex, we can enjoy food, we can enjoy comforts, we can enjoy friendships, we can enjoy, social media, whatever. But when Trishna starts covering over very quickly, karma can get usurped and become a vasana or a Trishna. So finally, as in I'm closing up on some new interpretations of verse 2, I want to present to you this beautiful verse from chapter 4, verse 22 of the Bhagavad Gita, which explains what does a yogi, how does a yogi behave when you are free of Trishna. So first thing is that they show santosha. They show santosha or contentment, whether they have success or they have failure. Because success and failure are material worlds. These are words of the samsara, of the world. But internally, you're like, oh, great, this marriage failed. This effort failed. Oh, Ishvara got me. Govinda got me. This was meant to be in my soul's map for only this long. So you're not feeling a failure deep inside you. So you have contentment. You tried at your marriage, you tried at your project, you tried at your study, you tried at your company. If it was meant to be and how far it was meant to go, it went. It was not even meant to take off, it didn't take off. That's okay because This is the essence of Karma Yoga. Whatever you did not do. There is no you there. There is no me there. There is only Govinda there. There is only that reality there. So that great reality acted through you, and you did this for 6 months, 6 years, 6 decades, and now it's gone. And it's meant to go. Just like trees in the forest, they grow, they blossom, and then they fall down. And there's a natural cycle of birth, sustenance, and dissolution happening. So there is no success or failure. Sama siddhau va siddhau cha. Sama means they are equipoise in siddhi and asiddhi, failure and success. That is a very big thing. And they are Vimatsaraha, they are free from envy. They stop looking, a spiritual yogi, a true yogi, stops looking at others. Well, there seems to be doing really well. Well, Ishvara has other plans for them. The universe has other plans for it. Some trees go large, some trees grow horizontally, some trees stay small, and it is all beautiful. And so यदृच्छलाभसन्तुष्टो द्वन्द्वातीतो विमत्सरः समासिद्धावसिद्धौ च कृत्वापि न निबध्यते. So whether they have labha, whether they have gain, or whether they have loss in financial terms, they have contentment. So contentment, and stop envying others and just singing to your own tune like Ma Saraswati. That is the beauty of the one who is free of delusions. With contentment, whether gain comes to them of its own accord or loss of, they are free from envy, and they remain equipoise in success and failure. So it's good to know what that looks like, because we can start moving towards it. In my own life, I've had success and failure, loyalty and betrayal. What else? Ups and downs. But as the verse says, that what does the verse say here? It says, Yallabhase nij karamopatam vittam tena vinodaya chetam. Do your normal work, aspire for your normal goals in a normal process without hankering and craziness, and then your heart shall feel grateful and blessed, because you are aligned with Govinda at all times. So Vinodaya Chittam, Vinoda means happy. You shall feel inwardly happy, inwardly cheerful when you stop all this hankering, you calm down, and in a natural way, millions of dollars are coming your way. Okay. And if in a natural way only hundreds are coming, okay. And somehow in that organic source, you shall become content. And the moment you become content, ultimately the millionaire is trying to be happy. You shall become manifold happy in those hundreds of dollars, because you've stopped comparing. And then everything that you ever wanted shall be revealed from within you. Such is the nature of spiritual joy. Speak from contentment, cultivating contentment. And I wanted to bring you additional ideas around letting go of dhana trishna, acquisition trishna of dhana, things that supposedly bring you comfort and joy, although they make you restless, angry, envious, bitter, make you feel diminished, because this kind of delusion that this world is here to complete me, that I'm actually going to milk this cow of the world and get something and fulfill myself is a major delusion for spiritual seekers. It is a dusha prerna. It is a false idea. It is an inimical idea. It is an inimical idea to true yogis, to true seekers, because it tosses you into the flames of insatiable fire like Krishna, and you are scorched daily from within because you do not feel fulfilled. And there is nothing like feeling small and unfulfilled and a failure from within. And it was not necessary because Ishvara, the God, the goddess, the universe, the ultimate reality, has a perfect plan for you. And if you can just settle down, then that door will open within your heart. And that is why, as an Acharya, when we teach Bhaja Govindam, it's really important to know this perpetual enemy within our own thoughts and then see through it and stop the hankering, stop the mindness, the deluge of mindness, my this, my that, my this, and stop the ahankara or this thing makes me feel like this and this thing makes me feel like that, all the subjectifying things. Now we proceed to verse 3 of the Bhaja Govindam. Nari stana bhar nabhidesham Deshtva maga mohavesham etan mansa vasadi vikaram manasi vichintaya varam varam bhaj govindam bhaj govindam govindam bhaja muramate. Seeing the women with large breast and navel region, do not be possessed by delusions and infatuation. All these sexy body parts are nothing but modification of muscles, fat, and blood. Introspect over this in your mind again and again. Oh, deluded one, remember the reality. Remember Govinda. Remember Govinda. Govinda, you must remember. Now, please remember that Shankaracharya was talking to a group of male students. And so he spoke to them, and Acharya is asked in the Acharya Samhita, in the code of conduct for Acharyas, to speak to the group that they are speaking to the student they are speaking to, single or in a group, speak to the times that they are in. So they must change examples from time to time to make the eternal knowledge contemporary and relevant, because it is relevant. It's up to the Acharya to interpret it. So he was talking to a gender specific reference, but please remember, lust is not gender specific. Lust can be for the opposite gender, for opposite sex. It can be for the similar sex. Um, it can be towards either sex. It doesn't matter. The point is that there is a delusion beyond acquisition. Now we're looking at the delusion of the senses and how the senses get trapped in the body of another looking a certain way. For example, if a heterosexual male is looking at a female body, then the rise of the breast and the fall of the navel, these things drive all thoughts of when, where, how much, what's okay, what's not okay, out of the mind, and one becomes infatuated. And infatuated means your buddhi or your intellect or your thinking faculty gets taken over, and what rises is a desire to acquire closeness with that body, union with that body. All thoughts of union with God, goddess, self are disappeared. and one becomes completely ensnared by the body. And so Shankaracharya drives another hammer on our deluded mind. And just take a moment to imagine somebody really beautiful, somebody who you have lusted for in the past or in the present. And now just imagine them as nothing but beyond, just beneath their skin lies this cage of bones, ribs, muscles, urine, feces, sweat, all kinds of liquids. It's not pleasant at all. And that is the vision that Shankaracharya wanted you to have at this point, just to get done with the delusion. Now, we must give credit to this tradition, which has put sexuality in a very special place. Sacred sexuality begins here in the Vedic Hindu tradition, but there is a place and time for that. But when you are trying to seek an alignment with your innermost Atma, which is one with Paramatma, which is one with Govinda, how many countless dramas begin because we were attracted to a certain body or certain sets of bodies? Decades are lost in pursuing that body, in staying close to that body. And afterwards, when that body starts displeasing the senses or dissatisfying the senses, then looking for another body or being rejected by a body because that body found another body. So when the body is desired from a place of infatuation, lust, and sensory gratification, only then what happens is that the trishna that arises, the thirst that arises, is limitless, and it leads to even crimes. It leads to abuse, to rape, to incest. It leads to violation of our own inner disciplines and value system. And we often end up making the wrong choices, walking down the aisle with the wrong person, staying in a relationship for decades without any kind of emotional alignment, value system alignment, spiritual, intellectual alignment, just because the bodies once craved each other. And then on, it is just abject gloom. But that body delusion led one to couple, to pair, and now there's a lifetime of misery. Children are born often of this, children are neglected, children are abandoned. So there is so much delusion. And I'm not even wanting to just stay on the social aspects of lust. I want to talk about the loss that lust creates for a yogi. And that is why Patanjali clearly said brahmacharya. Brahmacharya means many things in the Vedic tradition, but brahmacharya definitely means not being deluded by lust. When lust emerges at the right time with the right partner in a dharmic bond, in a hygienic setting with clear boundaries and a willingness to participate in lovemaking or sexual any version of engagement, then it is said to be the coupling of Shiva and Shakti, no matter the gender of the body. But otherwise, it is a full-on delusion. So if one is deluded by the physicality of the body, then one is actually dying a daily death um, according to different verses. So why is Shankaracharya bringing this whole topic up in verse 3? Because the delusion, because this trishna, or the thirst of the senses, leading to delusion, pleasure is really leading to delusional pleasure. And the senses, they have intelligence, they have a little bit of a reflection of the soul's intelligence, but they're pretty pretty stupid when they act on their own without the mind behind it, without the intellect restraining and using discernment as to what I should be attracted to or not. And the Vedas are full of these teachings of how an insect, they are led by the sense organ of their eye. And when they see something glowing, they just are infatuated by it and they just move towards it in a hypnotic way. And they often jump into the glowing fire, which is their death. So just using the eyes towards the body, we get consumed in the fire of unexamined, untimely, inappropriate, delusional lust. Similarly, the fish uses its mouth from a compulsive way. It just keeps opening its mouth, wanting gratification, 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 and it finds some piece of food stuck to a hook. It consumes it without thinking, should I consume it or not? And boom, that's the end of the fish. Similarly, when we have our senses on and our eyes are looking at a body that which arouses lust, our fingers want to touch that body, our mouth wants to taste that body, then at that time the inner restraint, viveka, discernment collapses, and we engage in sensual pursuit, whether it's fulfilled or not, but the mind is now fully engaged, and it leads to manifold dangers, from online dangers to actual real-time dangers, to dangers in the now, to dangers in the future. And the biggest calamity of all is that we become estranged from our path. I've been teaching for many years now, a couple of decades, and many seekers would come study Shastra, become excited, practice the Gayatri mantra, and then after a while I hear that they met someone and they stopped coming to satsang, then they dropped out of the community, then they went off with that person to some place, then they were dissatisfied. After a while the lust wears off. So then they went off to some other place in search of similar. They went off here, there. Then they come back. And then they say, oh, I need spiritual help. Okay, here is some more teaching. Oh, yeah, this is great. This is good. Why did I? Why? And then again, something happens and off they go. So it is not a, this is not a, this is not a commentary on how Westerners behave. This is a commentary on how humanity behaves, especially when we are in our 30s and 40s and 20s. The senses really hijack our journeys. And then many a people return from these journeys when they are becoming old and weary, and the senses have become blunted out, and they are neither being attracted to other bodies, and other bodies are not being attracted to them. At that point, then they settle down and their journey proceeds. That is why when the Buddha conquered his senses in a young age, when Mahavira, the Jain teacher, became Jitendriya, means he's known as Jitendriya, the conqueror of his senses. These are the true heroes. If we can conquer our tongue and it doesn't dictate us what to eat, what to kiss, what to love, but the soul and the intellect decide when it can indulge itself and when it cannot, then we are the real heroes. Similarly, if our fingers are constantly touching, we are aware of so many criminals who are touching young people or vulnerable people without their permission. But our sense of touch should be under the command of our intellect soul, not on its own. It should not be doing its own thing. Similarly, the mind, just the lower mind. There's a higher mind known as intellect or buddhi, and the lower mind. The lower mind with unregulated senses is in cahoots with the senses. And the ego also is in cahoots, and the ego justifies. This is why I should do that. This is why I should do that. And off it goes. But the intellect, the buddhi, the higher mind, and the Atma that is being provided these teachings and can contemplate upon them, can then slowly rein in the senses and say, look here, no indiscriminate grazing in the universe. You stay here. Then your diet will be better. Your friends would be better. The media you consume would be through discrimination and discernment, and your whole life will become pure and beautiful and worthy of the Atma, the beautiful soul that dwells within you. So this is really important. And there is this beautiful teaching of Shiva and Shakti's love making, but I remember these teachings from my guru when he says that if you have to look at sensual completion and gratification, let's look at Shiva and Shakti, and let's look at Shiva, who is so unique with his body that he doesn't just grab Shakti's body, but he gives up half of his body to become his beloved. So it is a sacrifice in the lovemaking, not a grabbing in the lovemaking, because that is how you have Ardhanarishvara, half Shiva, half Shakti. So this is not an attachment, but a detachment from his body, that he can let go of his half his body so he can accommodate his beloved. Who can be more superior to him, to Shiva, when he is in the company of Shakti? Look at this engagement. While the rest of us are smitten and stupefied by the irresistible serpent of lust, and we are brought under the infatuation and we justify it as love and soulmates and whatnot. And we, instead of giving up anything, we just lose all control and we want more, 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 more. And even when satiety comes and this is no longer working for us, we are unable to even detach ourselves. We are in blind attachments. We are enslaved. But only the one whose inner Shiva is awake, whose inner yogi Atma is awake, they truly know how to enjoy sensory buffet of this universe, appreciate even the privilege of sexual engagement, but always they have detachment and discernment, viveka and vairagyam active within them. I would like to close this teaching by pointing out how in the Vairagya Shatakam, another teacher, no, in Vairagya Shatakam, we come across this is rather harsh teaching by the scholar who says that how the poets or how the romanticists or how the sentimentalists or the sensualists put a spin on the body. What are breasts? Breasts are no more than lumps of flesh, but in the poet's imagination, they are like golden jugs pouring out, sublime essence of beauty. And this face, it's a dwelling place of phlegm and saliva, and it's compared to the shining moon. And the hips and the loins are full of urine um, and feces, but they are likened to the head of a noble elephant. So the body is simply rasa, plasma, rakta, blood, mamsa, muscle, meda, adipose tissue, asti, skeletal tissue, majja, the nerve tissue, shukra, the sexual tissue. All of this is jam-packed in this thing. And so introspection is needed. This is the last line, which says manasi. Manasi means internal. Vichintaya varam varam, again and again. Varam varam means again and again. Introspect. These harsh images are provided to you so that you can, when you see a beautiful body, when you see a beautiful body from Hollywood or Bollywood or from anywhere, try and see what that body is from a biological perspective, and you will realize that it's an illusion. The beauty is an illusion. And so it will take away the power from you. Now, you may wonder why you are being given this harsh look at the body. Why is Shankaracharya doing that? Why is he asking you to introspect on the inner nature of the body, which is pretty smelly, stinky, ugly looking? If you open up a body, it's hard to look inwards. The most beautiful man or woman or blended gender person, they may look very wonderful outside, but when you open it and flesh is hanging loose and blood is dripping, pus is forming, bones are broken, it's not easy to look at it. I know there was an exhibition of the human carcass, and it takes guts to go through that museum and look at the human body. So why is this happening? Because Shankaracharya, through Bhaja Govindam, number one, wants us to introspect on the kind of hold a superficial beauty has over you. Number two, you are being asked to shift your attention from the body to the Atman, from the body to the self, from the container to the content. Then in Srimad Bhagavatam, which is another ancient text, a Puran, you are being asked to see the body as a teacher. Deho gurur mama. The body is like a guru. Why? Why is the body like a guru? Because it is teaching us to become detached from that which is constantly decaying, whose nature is to be destroyed, which shall be beautiful now, but shall come to a painful end. Although it we must not, although it provides us great benefit and rest and comfort to dwell in it and have this samsaric experience, but ultimately its inevitable fate is that if it is cremated, this body shall be burned to ashes by fire. If this body is put in a forest, which is the tradition of some folks, when the body, it is consumed by wild animals and vultures. If it is buried even in a luxurious coffin, it shall decompose and then be consumed by insignificant insects and worms. So that this is the nature of the body, parakayam, ultimately to be consumed by others. That is another name for the body, parakayam. We consume food throughout, and then it is ultimately consumed by fire or water or animals or insects. And that is why it is our teacher, because every moment we are seeing it change. It is showing us how to discern between that which is changeable and that which is unchanging, because to observe what is changing, something has to be fixed, and that fixed part is you. You are not changing. The self is not changing. So by studying the nature of one's body, which is ephemeral, changeable, by understanding the birth and death phenomena, one acquires a kind of discernment to detach from temporary things. So if you're attached to your child's body or your pet's body, try and see that body merely as a very miraculous, living, decaying cage, and try and connect to the brilliant light of self within. And see the body and see your own changing and aging as the body acting like a guru. This is such a beautiful teaching from the Srimad Bhagavad Puran, that this body is my guru. And finally, the entire Vedic pantheon of scriptures says, realize the purpose of the body. It is not to get it. Yes, it is there to conceive another body and promote the species, but it is not to get lost in physical infatuations and lust and waste out your entire life in all of that. Acquiring, seeking, lamenting, crying, complaining, wanting, feeling left out, missing the bus. but to lead your soul to God realization, to lead your soul to Govinda, to Ma Saraswati, to the Atma within, to have that yogic recognition, to have all your answers. So you've been given a body. Yes, it has desires and erroneous zones. So that is part of the universal plan to promote species and for you to be able to come back down the road. However, do not be lost in it. That is the delusion. And that is why in Srimad Bhagavat, again, it is said, Labadva Sudurlabham Idam. This is a this is a Durlabham. It is a rare human form after many, many births and deaths through different other forms as insects, animals, rabbits, hair. You finally get a human form. And you have a temporary opportunity, temporary, because we don't know what form we will get again. Those universal laws, Govinda's laws, Ishvara's laws are beyond us. But you have this very short time when your brain is sober, your body is working, rein in your senses, become a sober, introverted, inward yogi, and endeavor for the ultimate perfection, moksha, mukti, samadhi. Because this only a human body mind can do. A dog body mind can accompany you in your meditation, but cannot meditate. A mosquito can be in the room buzzing around, but it cannot do what you do. Study the Shastra, meditate and inquire and become one with the ultimate intelligence. So sense gratification, every insect, every animal, every bird is trying to gratify its senses, and so are we. But do we remain there? That is the question. Pigs, dogs, they all have ample opportunity for sense gratification. The flies have the most busy sex life possible. But the search for the absolute truth is a grave responsibility. And since our human body is not eternal, it's a teacher, it is teaching us that every moment. And this body houses a capacity to think, analyze. It is important that we start walking on this path of self-actualization, self-realization, ASAP with gravity, with seriousness, with self-interest to liberate our soul from this cycle. I, for one, do not want to come back as a tree or as an animal. They're all very cute and everything, but I want to maximize this human birth. So instead of returning to the false promise of sense gratification, because it's false, never fulfills us, it bores us, it diseases us, and it enslaves us. Let us use our body to house a pure mind and to ultimately open all the higher doors of yogic achievement. Let us have gratitude to the body. Let us use Ayurveda and asanas and pranayama and pratyahara and all these other early yogic practices to bless the body, to treat it like a temple, and then use it for higher states of meditation and higher states of contemplation. Without this body, you cannot even show up for this session or this YouTube video. Be grateful to your body. It truly is a teacher. But then when you look at another body, make sure that you have a dharmic alignment with it. And when you are in sexual engagement with another body, may it uplift you and not pull you down. Remember that. So this is the conclusion of verse 3. Nari stanabhara nabhi desham dishtva maga mohavesham. The moment you see a desirous body, don't get into moha or delusion. Etan mansa vasadi vikaram. Immediately under that body, see all the blood and the muscle and the bone and the fat and the tissue and everything hanging there inside, and the urine and the feces all just held together. This is the creation of a very mastermind Govinda. It is that one Atma dwelling through all these bodies. Do not just consume them, respect them, and continue to remember the truth. Manasi vichantaya, in your mind, continue to contemplate upon this varam varam, again and again. Jai Ma. Until